Okay, so I get that the difference between a rule and a boundary is that a rule guides someone else's behavior and a boundary guides my behavior, right? Yep. And I understand that a threat has to do with when I have the ability to exercise control over someone else's decision. Absolutely. But what about when I want a shared understanding of how we engage in certain situations? Oh, now we're kind of in the realm of standards and expectations. Oh my gosh, I truly miss the good old days where you could just be rude to people and they would just have to deal with it because you were related to them. Right, right. Didn't they stop inviting you to Christmas dinner? Too soon. So what's the difference? So standards are internal rules that we set for ourselves when it comes to behavior, communication, everything like that. Basically, it's the bar that we measure ourselves to. Okay, so you know how I refuse to put anything other than savory items on my grits. Like it's either salt, butter, cheese, or nothing. That's a standard, right? That is oddly specific. But yes, that is an example of your standard. Okay, so what's an expectation? Expectations are guidelines and like the bar we set for other people. Okay, so what if I were expecting you to be honest about the fact that adding sugar to grits is an abomination? I mean, you might as well be having cream of wheat. That's an expectation, right? Once again, incredibly specific, but true. Okay, so what about friends and family? Are expectations and standards only valid when it comes to romantic relationships? No, this refers to all relationships. For example, if you have standards when it comes to cleanliness in your home, the expectation would be that when friends, family, anyone comes to your home, they would clean up after themselves. Okay, that makes sense. So where do boundaries come in all of this? Boundaries should be established to make sure that your standards and your expectations are reasonable. Like how? So say we're talking about romantic relationships. It's an unrealistic and unreasonable standard to expect you to be the center of your partner's universe. And as a result, it would be an unrealistic expectation for them to spend time with you, only you, when they're not at work or at school or at any other responsibilities. Is it though? I mean, I think that's kind of reasonable. Yes, you're right. That is incredibly reasonable in the world of cotton candy clouds and raindrops that taste like Kool-Aid and all right. In romantic relationships, standards and expectations can have positive and negative impacts. They're incredibly important for your own growth and internal development. How so? Meaning working towards personal goals and setting standards for yourself can have positive outcomes on all of your relationships with others. In terms of expectations from any other relationship, family, friends, romantic, they should be balanced with the standards that we set for ourselves. And they should also be communicated so that you can have mutual understanding and trust when it comes to working towards these expectations, managing your own standards, and identifying goals. Okay, that seems like a lot. It's putting forth effort. The same way we work on ourselves, we should expect others to work on themselves as well, individually, and the way that we're supposed to work on relationships with others. The tricky part is when we set ourselves to the expectation, to the standard that we're supposed to meet the mark every single time. That's not possible. We're going to miss the mark sometimes. It's just important that we have a trusting relationship with ourselves and others to communicate that and grow going forward. Yeah, I get that. It's like you're always saying 2 steps forward and 1 step back. It's still 1 step forward. It's just math. That's right. Standards and expectations are the ideals that shape our behavior. They're the level of conduct and expected attitudes that we expect to see in others and ourselves. Okay. On the other hand, rules and boundaries help us to create an environment for ourselves that is consistent and safe. They set the limits for appropriate behavior and can help us to prevent conflict in certain environments. So I get the difference between boundaries, rules, threats, standards, expectations. How do I set all this stuff up? Well,
Be ready for the next episode. Hey.